The internet has made it easier than ever to start a business. Succeeding on the internet, now that's another story. The big question is, what are those who are succeeding doing differently? This podcast has the answers. Welcome to the Marketing Matrix podcast. I'm your host, Lisanne Murphy, and I am here with the wonderful, beautiful, talented, so ready to shower us with gold today, Miss Tarin Calmeyer. Tarin, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me, Lisanne.
Okay, we are so excited to have you. I want to take a second to introduce this incredible entrepreneur, and I'm going to give her a chance to just blow our minds today, guys. It is going to be so good. Okay, so Tarin has spent over 10 years bringing her yoga and meditation expertise to people around the world with a teaching style that highlights her deep understanding of the body, mindfulness, and conscious living. Tarin is a yoga, meditation, and wellness coach with a background in osteopathy and has extensive experience working with brands from Puma to Move and Pick Resorts. In 2020, Tarin and her team launched Remote Team Wellness, a live virtual wellness solution designed to bring health and balance to companies and their employees, which is super needed on the planet today, right? Sessions are simply booked online and employees arrive via video conferencing to meet a real teacher for a personalized session. Through this service, Remote Team Wellness reduces stress, increases productivity, and promotes fitness among teams. You can learn more about Remote Team Wellness at remoteteamwellness.com. And she's also on LinkedIn. We are so excited. Again, big round of applause from your cars, from your kitchens, wherever you're listening to this. Give it up for Miss Tarin.
Woo! That was an incredible introduction. Thank you so much for that, Lisanne. I really appreciate that.
Oh, I am so excited. So for those of you listening in, Tarin and I connected through an event that we're both attending today called PodMax, that's produced by Josh Carey and his business buddy, Eric. So we're so excited to have this opportunity to be connected. And earlier this morning, Tarin introduced herself and she talked about how she has been pivoting what she does in her company to meet the needs of the market that they're seeing because of the results of the effects of the pandemic on the world. And so being a marketing podcast, I'm very, very excited to dive into that and understand exactly what you're doing and what caused you to make those shifts. And so we're just going to get into the marketing and mechanics of those choices, and it's going to be a party.
Yeah, definitely.
So for those listeners that aren't familiar with you and your story, give us some background. How did you get into yoga and meditation and turn it from a personal passion into a business?
Wow, yeah, it's been a journey and a half, seriously. So I have grown up dancing my whole life. I'm pretty sure I could dance before I could walk. And so I was always very active as a teenager, as a young person. And I thought I was going to be a professional dancer until I broke my ankle and got told by a doctor that I probably wasn't going to dance again, or at least dance professionally for any length of time. So I was given the option to either take up water aerobics or yoga. And not really being much of a water aerobics fan, I decided to try a Bikram yoga class, which is probably the hardest, most hardcore entry to yoga I could have chosen.
Talk about going for like the black belt in yoga.
Right, but hey, dancer, come on, that dancer mentality. I needed the like hardcore challenge, and I think what I really was looking for was the intensity, and I think the heat really helped me to stay present because I couldn't balance, I couldn't stand for a lot of the class. So I ended up just going to the classes, and the teacher would just help me out balancing on the mirror and doing the poses by balancing myself against people or against the mirror. And that was super humbling for me. It really helped me to just take a step back and realize that, you know what, all of the things that I was so used to being able to do so well were now not accessible to me, and I had to rebuild myself. So yeah, so from that place, I really started finding a humbleness in the practice of showing up and seeing how my body changed every day, and seeing how consistency made a really sustainable long-term result to get me not only better, but way better than I was before, stronger mentally and physically. So yeah, yoga, I'm one of those people, yoga changed my life. So.
I love it. So I grew up being an athlete, and I always I've I've always understood the value of yoga, but the thing that I used to always say is like, I struggle with yoga because you can't win yoga. Like, I'm a
Exactly.
very competitive person. And so I always struggled with it for that reason. But I have, I had an opportunity, not this past January, but the January before, where I went to a retreat in San Diego, and they brought in a private yoga teacher for the retreat every morning for a week. So
Amazing.
we did yoga every morning outside on the beach, just like our the patio of the mansion we were staying in, like looked over the water, and so we could hear the water and hear the birds. And I did yoga, and like I did it every morning for a week, and I was like, oh, I'm converted. This is unbelievable. And I felt so good, and like I felt like I could breathe better and stand taller every day, and so I promptly came home and never did another session. But I had a very, very powerful experience with yoga. And so I need to grow up and actually do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that the path kind of calls you in whatever way it does, and as I said, like I don't think I would have gone back to the yoga class if it wasn't for that initial intensity of the Bikram heat. But then as I started to evolve in my practice, I realized that maybe the heat wasn't the best thing for me. I'm a very fiery person in general, so the heat kind of burnt me out after a little while. And then I started getting into a few of the deeper practices and wanting to know a little bit more about the history and the philosophy, and that really helped my evolution through the practice. So
That's so
if you would have
cool.
if you would have told me 10 years ago that I would be teaching meditation and yoga, I would have laughed in your face. So
That's
it is
amazing.
possible. Yeah.
That is amazing. So your plan was to be a professional dancer.
Yeah, pretty
Is that the
much.
plan?
That was the thing that I loved the most. I wanted to be a performer in some way, shape, or form. I love speaking to people. I love being on stage. I love entertaining people, and that's always something that's brought me joy. And actually, I ended up finding a little bit of that in my yoga classes, because I've now had a captive audience of 40 people to to teach about something that they knew very well, which is their bodies, and to teach about how to reconnect with their body mind connection, and to move in a more effective way. And that was actually something that really resonated with where I was going with being a performer as well.
That's so cool. It's beautiful. I love it. Okay, so how did it turn into a business? It sounds like you first got your certification and became an instructor. So it was a in-person brick and
Yeah.
mortar type class.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
how did it evolve from there?
Yeah, so I did that certification not intending to teach. Again, was just trying to find out more about the practice. And the people who I was training with were like, nope, what are you doing tomorrow evening? Show up to the studio, you're going to be teaching a class of 80. So ended up getting straight into teaching for studios, and spent at least 5 years doing that in Australia, in South Africa, and America. And then I moved on to working in more corporate spaces and in hotel spaces, helping them to develop their guest wellness programs, and then helping corporates to do team building and retreats, and really build out a more inclusive wellness practice rather than a healthcare kind of program. And I realized that that's something that I really love and really resonate with as well. And that helped me to travel to a few different countries and to meet with amazing people that really did need the connection of these tools that I'd been learning, for their corporations and for their staff. So once COVID hit, everything kind of shifted. Obviously, not being able to work with hotels anymore, not really being able to go into offices and do office hours with companies. So I thought about a way to now take my practice online and to connect companies with wellness providers, because obviously I can't do this all by myself. So I connect companies with wellness providers that are able to give them those implementable tools to help their people really prioritize their well-being.
Mm, that's amazing. So tell me, how do you pitch this? Because like I've been involved in corporations before where like they have a health and wellness program, but it's difficult to get employees to take it seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing about it's actually been easier to pitch this since COVID has happened, because now all of a sudden we've all been relegated to our homes. We have to make our home space, our workspace, our child rearing space, our everything space. And there's not really that connection of you can just walk into your coworker's office and chat to them. So there's this disconnect now between how we're working and the connection that we have with our coworkers in after work activities. So when I started building this, I obviously have just started with yoga and meditation, but I really see this as being a holistic wellness solution to helping to connect coworkers to each other in different ways. So it's not only yoga and meditation that we provide. We also do really interesting, fun things like trivia and bingo and virtual recess and adult gameplay to really keep that team building connection up in companies. And I know that it can be difficult for employees to want to engage with, but now we have even more of a reason to engage, because again, there just isn't that connection. We're all sitting behind a computer screen, right?
Yeah, that's fascinating. That's fascinating. Okay, so when this huge environmental shift happened for you, was it a very natural transition, or like did you have some moments where like, you know, the pit came in your stomach and you were like, oh no, this is gonna be rough? Like walk me through that. Like how did you go from having all of those hospitality businesses drop off to gathering yourself and being like, it's okay, like we're gonna move on from here?
It's a really good question. And I think that my answer to that is probably through just grounding myself into my own practice and realizing that, you know what, this is actually a natural check-in point to realize that all of the things that I've thought that I had control over, I really don't have that much control over. And since the practice of mindfulness is just that, realizing that you have very limited control, I had to finally practice what I preach and really take a moment to step back and step into my own space and say, hey, like this is terrible and something really big is happening, something really big is shifting. I took my time. I took at least a week there to, you know, break down and have my moment of what the heck am I going to do here. And then I regathered myself and was like, I could pivot this online, because if I can teach a person how to move their body just by speaking to them, then I can do that online as well. It's not that difficult. And that's been something that's also carried me to this point, is not saying I can't, but rather how can I?
So inspiring. I love that. We're going to create a hashtag. Not I can't, but how can I?
How can I?
So good. So
Thank
good. I love it.
Yeah.
So how's it going? Like, I mean, this is really fresh. This is new. I would
Yeah.
love if you're willing to dig into it. Like what pieces have come together for you, and what are pieces that you're still trying to fit in? How's it going?
Look, it is super new, but it's going really well. It's actually been an interesting thing to have conversations with people who do have this mindset of the workspace being almost very Darwinian, like every man for himself, every employee for themselves, everyone should just take care of their own well-being. But that's clearly not a model that works if you want your employees to, you know, not burn out after a very short amount of time. Because as we all know, happy employees work harder, healthy employees stay longer. And that's just been something that I've just had to really start to have conversations with the companies that I work with about, and just talk about like how this can really be a valuable and implementable tool for their companies and for their staff. And it also shows the staff that their employer cares about them in a different way, that their employer actually prioritizes how they are doing. And when an employee has that little spark of, oh wow, my employer actually cares, that's incentive enough to want to work and to want to engage and to want to move forward with the business, because that's just what business is all about, right? Keeping your people happy.
Yeah, I love it. So, and how are you getting in front of these business owners?
So we're doing lots of different marketing outreach, and we're trying everything. We're testing everything because, again, we're pretty much just a customer acquisition business at this point. So really looking at different channels that we can experiment with. We're using LinkedIn, we're using Instagram. I have my own personal brand that I've built up quite successfully, and I do a lot of Instagram lives for businesses and for brands, and I have worked with a lot of brands in that way. So I know how to kind of position myself in a way that makes it a bit more digestible for a company to actually take the service on. And basically, I usually just pitch to give it a try out a session, see what it's like. So we offer the first session is $99. And if that works, if the company loves it and if the team loves it, then that $99 goes toward your monthly fee of actually making it a regular practice and using whatever services you engage, whatever services you resonate with for your employees.
Interesting. That's cool.
Mm.
So it sounds like everything is organic
Yes,
so far. That's
very much.
fantastic. And have you ever done any paid advertising for those services?
We are
Or
actually
want to?
Yeah, definitely. We're going to start next week. We're just finalizing some last website stuff, but we're getting on the paid advertising next week, and I'm really excited to see what that brings in and the kinds of relationships that build. And it's also been it's been really great to just network with people organically. But I'm really interested to see like who resonates with it from a paid advertising approach as well.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah, I'm always interested in that because I run a Facebook advertising agency, and the people that succeed the best are the ones that understand their organic system, and then they automate it with the paid traffic, right?
Right.
So like the fact that like you already have experience and understanding of how to reach out and communicate with those people, it's pretty exciting. It'll be exciting to see what happens with your paid traffic strategies. That's cool.
Yeah, very, very excited for it because I think that there's just so much more opportunity that can come in that way as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's really cool. I love the model that you've built with it being continuity, right? A membership, so
Mhm.
that can bring in recurring revenue for you, and it'll just
Mhm.
allow your success to continue to compound, and each success will build on each other. And so you'll be able to grow much more quickly than just, working as an individual with a few clients at a time.
Oh my goodness. And I think that's the thing that I also realized because when I started taking this online and when I started working with like the existing clients that I had, I was like, I need to connect more well-being practitioners to people who again wouldn't maybe resonate with my teaching or would need something a little bit different or need a little bit of a different vibe. And I realized I can't do it alone. So that's been a huge learning, especially as a first-time business owner. It is really, really important for me to outsource and to ask for help. That's been one of my biggest learnings.
That's so great. I love it.
Yeah.
So what are some pieces that you're trying to put together right now in terms of the marketing of your business?
Good question. So again, as I said, we're really trying to work on that paid advertising and really get that pumped out. But one thing that I would really like to start to implement in our marketing is a stronger social media and content creation presence. So really starting to give a lot of valuable videos, tips, resources for people to access. I want to be able to give free content to people as well, to be able to show that this is something that's not only valuable for employees, but it's valuable for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone needs this in some way, shape, or form. Even if it's not, if it's not, yoga's not your thing, that's fine. There are other tools that you can implement to really bring this into your life in a sustainable way.
That's fantastic. So, and what are you thinking to do that? Like, are you thinking a YouTube channel, a podcast? What are you
Yeah,
thinking?
definitely thinking starting out with a YouTube channel. So I made my first YouTube video last week, which is
Yay!
which is fantastic. And I love filming content. I really do. It's just that again, because I am the chief everything officer at the moment, I don't really have time to put all of my energy into just me doing a YouTube channel because it does require a large amount of energy. So again, getting people on board that are knowledgeable, who have that expertise, and who can convey those messages in an effective way.
That's so exciting. That's so great. Yeah, I love YouTube because you can leverage the power of the SEO
Mm,
benefits. So when you title those videos well, then you're able to capture audiences for a long period of time, because those videos are always cataloged into their system with those keywords.
absolutely.
So it's
Absolutely.
fantastic. I love it.
Yeah. Thank
Well,
you so much.
cool. This is really, really exciting. I'm super excited for you.
Thank
So
you.
what has been I always love to ask this question, and it's, what has been the biggest internal transformation you've experienced as you've been on this entrepreneurial journey?
Hmm. Another excellent question. Wow. I just filmed a video about the importance of time. And that's been a really big transformation for me because I used to be a person that was late and late for a lot of things and like had trouble with time management and balancing things. And I have really realized the value and importance of time because one of the most valuable gifts that we can give anyone is our time. That's the most valuable thing we all have. And so the biggest internal transformation for me has really been not only valuing my own time and really, again, knowing when to ask for help, when to outsource instead of being like, oh, you know what, I can build the website, I can do all the marketing, I can do all of this. I'll learn. As a person who is a lifelong learner, I love studying. I love learning new information. So that has almost led me into this place where I feel like I can learn anything, but is that really a good use of my time? Is that really going to take me to the places that I want to go quickly? No, definitely not. So really the shift for me has been learning when to ask for help and knowing when, hey, yeah, it'd be cool for me to learn a little bit more about how to develop a website, but I don't really have time for that right now. I need to be interviewing teachers or I need to be with clients. And so I now know how to ask for help and how to reach out when I need it instead of internalizing everything and taking everything on and feeling it. There's almost this failure that I felt when I couldn't do something or when I couldn't learn to do everything that I've really just dropped since this
Mm.
journey has started. And that's been so reassuring and it's so much more peaceful in this process. So I really, really have appreciated that.
I love that. I love that so much. So I've got a follow-up question for you, based on your answer. So you talked about the importance of time and how our time is finite, and so we need to make sure we're using it, especially as a business owner, in the places where we can make the biggest impact. I think that as an entrepreneur, and I've fallen into this trap as well, we get so sucked up into just being busy, and we don't, not just time in terms of like spending our time wisely, but like taking time for mindfulness, like you brought up earlier. I would
Yeah.
love for you to, because of your expertise, I'd love to give you the floor on this for just a little bit. How do we create the space, like the time for that mindfulness, so that we're not just the second we wake up in the morning to the second we go to bed, we're crushing it
Busy.
out in our businesses as entrepreneurs? How do we do that?
With intention is my short answer to that. And because this practice has taught me so much about setting yourself up in a way that you are moving in through your days consciously instead of just taking on things because they look good or because it's busy work or because you should be doing more, to really take a step back and ask yourself, what are my intentions with my business? What are my intentions with my days? What do I want to get through my days experiencing and feeling? How do I want to feel at the end of my days? How do I want to feel with the clients that I'm around? How do I want to interact with the people that I'm with? And setting up those intentions makes it easy for you to know where to put your time, where to place your energy and your attention. Because when you have intention, then it's easier for you to find a way to channel your attention. And that's really, I think that's really a valuable way to start to break down how you are moving through your busyness, and look at where the busyness is actually valuable or where it's just just busy work.
Mm.
Does that answer
And
your question?
I love it. I love it. It's so good. And do you have any guidance in terms of how to find that intention? Because I think
Yeah.
sometimes the busyness, it gets so busy that it just
Mm-hmm.
crowds into our mind, and it's difficult to pull out that intention.
Absolutely. One of my biggest pieces of advice is, before you start any day, before you even grab your phone and check your email, do all the things, before you plug yourself in, you have to plug yourself into you first. So before anything happens in the morning, you wake up, you open your eyes, and just take a moment, put your hand on your chest, take a nice deep breath, and ask yourself, how do I want to feel at the end of this day? And that will help, again, drive that attention toward, all right, well, I want to feel like I've been productive, or I want to feel like I have or like I've relaxed, or I want to feel rejuvenated, or how do you want to feel? What feeling can you attach this intention to? And when you firstly, again, check in with yourself before checking in with anyone else, then you give yourself the space to create something that you want, rather than getting drawn into everything else that everyone else needs.
That is so good. That is so good. And what I love is, like, you're giving solutions that don't have to take hours and hours of time, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
take 5 minutes to really change the trajectory of your day. And I'm gonna write that phrase down. Like, allow your intention to direct your attention.
Thank you.
Um,
Yeah, it's a really good one.
so good. Yeah, because here's the thing: is like, whether you have an intentional intention or not, you have an intention, right?
Yeah,
And so it will direct your attention.
yeah.
And so you might as well be intentional about your intention.
Right, right. Because I mean, anything that pops up, you can just come back to that intention and ask if it aligns with that. And if it doesn't, then why are you doing it? Because it's
Yeah.
not your intention.
So I always ask this one question to everyone in our short interview, and it's always fascinating to see what they have to say. So we're so excited to hear what you have for us today. The question is this. You ready?
Ready.
Okay. What small marketing strategy or tactic has made the biggest difference in your business, and why?
Really excellent question. And I love that that's what you ask everybody. So I would have to say, for me, it's definitely been learning to leverage the value of marketing, networking in my outreach. And we actually just attended an incredible masterclass with Jordan Harbinger, that really helped me highlight that it's not about how you network and how you go about finding people, but it's about maintaining those relationships and really keeping yourself in constant connection and constant contact. I have developed quite a successful personal brand as the Chocolate Pretzel, and that's helped me to work with a lot of brand names and a lot of hotels. And so in that, I've learned how to reach out to these brands without asking for something, but rather just loving their products, engaging with them in a grander sense, because I love what they do, I love what they're about, I love what they stand for. And that's what helps me to connect with them, that when it comes time for them to need someone to do a wellness class or an Instagram live or create a piece of content, then they have a person at the top of their mind, because I'm always tagging them, because I'm using their product, and I'm engaging with them in different ways, and really allowing myself to connect with them on a different level, instead of just going out and being like, please send me product, please can you do something for me. It's not about the what I can get. I've never thought of myself, I've never really approached anything from a standpoint of what can I get from this. It's what value can I give, and something will always come back from it. That's how I've built myself up to the place that I'm at now.
I love that. I love that. So, and where did that mindset come from of, like, what do I give instead of what do I get? How did that develop?
I'd probably have to say my mom. She's the biggest giver that I've ever met in my life. And she's always she's always encouraged me to be in that mentality of, if you are a person who gives, you are automatically going to receive, because it's a two-way street. And if you go into things just with an open heart and with the willingness to give and to provide value and to give of yourself and your time, then that will be returned to you in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it's not instant, maybe it's not right away, maybe it's not even that same person that you're giving value to. But when you are in this mentality, in this mode of giving, you will automatically receive.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So, and one last question about this: how do you know what to give? How do you know what value to give to people?
Absolutely. So it really depends on the person and the energy. You have to build up the relationship. So that's another important part of this, because networking is about relationships. It's not just about putting out a generic cold message and hoping that you get something in return. It's about how you can build up a relationship to know that, hey, this person seems to resonate with these things, or this brand seems to have these kinds of values. So that's maybe the value that I can provide to them. You have to know what a person values and really put yourself into their shoes. It comes down to basic empathy at the end of the day of, what can I give to this person, what that they would want.
I love that. What can I give to them that they would want? And making the relationship the center of the focus.
Absolutely.
So good. So good. I love it. I love it. Well, it has been such a pleasure having you on the show today. How can people find you and follow you on the socials?
Awesome. So you can find my business, Remote Team Wellness, at www.remoteteamwellness.com, and start a conversation to get your team started with virtual yoga and meditation classes. We're also on all the social networks as Remote Team Wellness. And you can find my personal brand, The Chocolate Pretzel, at thechocolatepretzel.com, and on all the social networks, The Chocolate Pretzel.
I love it. That is so fantastic. Well, Tarin, it has seriously just been an absolute honor and joy to have you share your story, your experience, your knowledge. And you have definitely brought value and incredible greatness to the show today. So thank you so much for being on the Marketing Matrix.
Thank you so much for having me. It has been an absolute pleasure, and it's been such a joy to meet you as well.
Access denied. Access granted. Access granted.